All right, welcome back to another episode of the Unprepared Podcast. I am your host, John Whitridge. We've got a very exciting one today. My personal friend and incredible real estate developer, Robin Barua, joins us. He brings a ton of experience in the real estate world. We're going to be talking about real estate development, real estate investing, everything that you can think of, and anything that you might have heard about from some of these famous influencers, right? Really famous folks that are telling you to go get 1,000 units, 2,000 units. It's all passive income. It's easy. There's nothing you need to worry about once you sign things. We're going to see if that's true and what the misconceptions are from somebody who's in the business, boots on the ground, in the weeds. And that brings us to my host or my guest today, Robin. Robin, you've got an incredible background. This was a really fun one to kind of put together because there are so many points here. It's almost like a laundry list, but you're a real estate investor, developer, you're an agent, a flipper. So you're really in the weeds. You're seeing the nuance of all these projects. You're the founder and owner of Waybar Development. You were a project manager at Toll Brothers, and you were a top 20 real estate agent at Keller Williams Philly. It seems like you've done everything, you've touched everything, and you've kind of made it through the other side. But is there anything I'm missing on that resume that you kind of want to call out?
I'm just at the tip of the iceberg of real estate in general. There, it just keeps going layers and layers and layers.
Yeah, yeah. Well, maybe that's one of the fun things about real estate is it's not a very secular industry. There's a lot of different ways. I feel like anytime I boot up Instagram or anything like that, everyone's talking about some new novel way to get involved in real estate, 0%, no money down loans, flipping paper, wholesaling, right? There's a lot of different tactics to it. So I'm excited to kind of pull this all apart and see what we've got. I've got two questions for you on your resume to maybe put some more specific dollars and figures to this. But, what's the total dollar amount of real estate that you've developed, or maybe a big development that you've done? And the second one, what's the largest transaction you've ever done?
Yeah, I mean, for development, we sold about 40 million in just volume in that Waybar Developments for since 2021.
Holy
Um,
smokes.
average price point's about a million, 1 million to 1.5 million for our homes. And then for largest transaction as a realtor, it was a $7.5 million land deal in Northern Liberties. Me and my business partner Colin Conway, we both brokered that for KW. So those are the two noteworthy transactions.
It's a lot of commas. That's a lot of zeros, my friend. That's exciting stuff. That's exciting stuff. Well, awesome. I think that does a pretty good job. We'll kind of jump in and we'll go through the usual flow of the episodes, right? We'll kind of start with the Google trap. What are those big common misconceptions that I think people have around real estate, right? What are we kind of seeing floating around online that we want to address and really get your expert opinion on, as somebody that's doing this day in and day out. We'll kind of work through those. We'll work in some horror stories and everything else on when projects maybe didn't go quite so right, and when they hopefully went better than expected, and you kind of overachieved based on some early estimates. So we'll kind of jump in here. The one that I like to start with, and I really think about a lot with real estate is that the easiest misconception is that it is easy, right? It's you buy a house, you rent it out for more than your mortgage is, and you get a check in the mail every month for $1,000. You do that with 1,000 units, and you can retire tomorrow, and it's easy and it's passive. So, I mean, what do you think? What's the biggest misconception with that kind of ease, or the thought that this is just sign and retire?
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes by philosophy and depends on your goals. A lot of people will try to go for ego and try to add to the volume of doors, but it doesn't matter the quality of doors. They just want that number. I've known colleagues that hit that, 100 single family home unit count and they're miserable and they rather just sell, half their portfolio and transition into something that's more efficient. So there's always, people's goals are different. But real estate is never passive. It's active investment because there's just
Yeah.
always something going on. Whether you're collecting payments you still have to manage that system. You have to put systems in place to reach the unit count that you want. So there's always layers to it. Yeah, I would say like if you have 5 homes, you could definitely manage yourself, and it's not going to be too difficult if they're good areas and so forth. But so it just depends on people's how they're set up, and their goals. So that's always a misconception, but most of the time, real estate is active investment.
Couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. Now, this one's a little bit of a funny episode because I have a little bit more preparation than usual because we actually worked together on a deal and we worked and I had a duplex that you were my agent for, the first ever investment property that I had.
Oh yeah.
And I think I was very much a early subscriber to the, hey, get units, get doors, just get the paycheck and life will be grand. And certainly once you kind of sign that paper, that is kind of when the headaches start, not necessarily when life gets easier. Um, so that the active perspective, I think, is spot on, spot on there. Oh, the second point, and kind of what I think of as the next step is, in real estate, you can kind of have a very concrete timeline, right? You buy the property, you kind of start managing it. And I definitely want to pick apart those processes that you've put in place to kind of grow and scale to where you've got today. But I think the second misconception that I hear all the time, and maybe there's a little bit more truth to this than an explicit misconception, but in real estate, you make all your money when you buy the property, not necessarily when you sell it, meaning you really got to focus in on, and I'm sure there's processes and all kinds of funnel and lead generation things that you can do to make sure you get in at a good price. But what do you think about that? I mean, does that hold more water than maybe some folks give it credit for?
Yeah, that's 100% true.
Okay.
That's really it. You really have to focus and dial in on the acquisition price because you're always going to go over construction budget. The the exit price will not always be what you projected. So I'm more in the conservative route as I've learned over time. I don't go and try to be the highest price per square foot house somewhere. I'm more of time and efficiency. I want to be in and out. I'd rather just make my return and leave money on the table than trying to strive and take that risk of market conditions. And I'm in the business of buying, building, and selling. I'm not here just to stay on the sell platform for months and months and months.
Yeah.
So buying it right always matters because I could always do a price cut and still reach my returns.
Yeah. That's a good point. That's a good point. I like that you kind of mentioned the processes and the philosophy a lot. I mean, I think that's one thing that it's very easy to get sucked into. Again, kind of those egomaniacs that say like you want to maximize every dollar, you want to specifically plan it so that you're precisely on your projections when it comes to constructions and turnover costs, holding costs, right, whatever it may be. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think one of the things about real estate that's so hard is you don't necessarily know what's behind the walls, especially when you're doing like a renovation or a flip or something. You take down a wall, you find a whole new set of assumptions that at that point the building's yours. You've got to be able to kind of flex but not break with it. How do you guys kind of stay ahead of the curve? Do you just put a big extra 20% budget line item in every project you do and just assume that that's enough to kind of get you by?
I mean, the bank makes you do a hard cost contingency, usually about between 5 and 10% of your hard costs. But I've learned, we've blown through that too.
Yeah.
And in reality, like to be truthful, like I'm because there's different niches in real estate, right? There's people that are good with those cosmetic rehabs, value add, right? The light TLC lipstick on a pig. There's
Yeah.
other people that are great at new construction, full gut rehabs, like, So for us, we've always actually struggled with the light TLC work because it's our nature where we just, in reality, like, we love just complete gutting the damn place.
Yeah.
And we can't stop ourselves. And we just like, you might as well just gut it and start over. So for us, we learned the hard way. Like we tried doing the TLC and we just got it. And I remember we like over improved the property for its area when we went to go
Yeah.
sell it. So that was kind of our learning curve. We're like, you know what, let's just stick to new construction, less headaches, it's easier. And so for other people it might be daunting. Like I know there's a couple colleagues where their business model is straight in and out, 6 months. They have, they have their own capital sources, which are cool with the quick returns,
Yeah.
and they'll do the TLC. But they won't touch like, brand new construction and or like heavy rehab. So for us, that's our shtick. We just like sticking with the heavy. We like doing the hard stuff, the really hard stuff, and it's just better and easier in our heads for that.
Yeah. Hey, I can get behind that. Honestly, I think that's a pretty good lesson for just about anything. I mean, for real estate, I've definitely seen and I've heard a lot of other people say that like when you get good at doing the hard things that other people don't necessarily like doing or can't do well, I mean, you set yourself up for success so much better because you're going to be able to handle, for lack of better words, the hard stuff, and everything else is going to be a whole lot easier. It's going to be
Oh
something
yeah.
that you kind of breeze through.
Yep, exactly.
I like it. I like it. Now you kind of mentioned some folks taking different financing routes and the loan actually that we used way back when. But I think the third misconception that I hear a lot about, and we kind of busted this one together way back in the actual investments that we used. But I think an easy third misconception is it takes a lot of real estate up front to get involved, particularly in real estate investing where maybe you're buying and owning the properties. But I mean, tell me about it. Tell me about that. Is that still true? Are there ways to get creative with financing, or does it really take a lot of money to kind of get started and get in the game?
Honestly, it starts with buying your first property as like owner occupant.
Yeah.
Um, like, in your situation, right? Like they had a 0% loan and you could get into a duplex. I mean, that was a no-brainer. Like you just have to get it, right? So those opportunities, even in today's market, I know it's a little more tougher because prices went up and interest rates are higher. But I had roommates, right? And I would charge my roommates rent, and that's how I bought. I bought my first property. I think I was all in. I think $15,000 down. Like, and I got Sarge Assist. I got a new construction, and it was obviously like in up and coming area. It wasn't the prettiest area, so there's some sacrifices you have to make. But I got in that way, and then I rented out the rooms, and then you're saving a lot of money because I was not paying my mortgage. But these are sacrifices not a lot of people are willing to make. So I did that, and then I was able to get a HELOC against my home because it went up. Had value already built in. So I used a line of credit to buy my first properties, and I kind of just worked my way up from there and saving money, obviously. So you just really have to be committed. And that's what, if you were to buy something right now, same thing. I mean, I prefer like getting a duplex or something. At least you have your own space. But no matter what, just maximize renting to someone, so you don't pay your mortgage. It's just things you have to do.
Yeah. I like that. I like that a lot. And I think what you're describing there for a lot of folks that may not be familiar with the specific term is house hacking, right? Buying a property, living in one unit, renting out the other. That way you kind of cut your mortgage costs and kind of growing and using that to kind of scale and get your foot in the door. But I'm sure you got a lot more experience explaining that. Can you kind of walk us through like house hacking in general and really maybe touch on, hey, if you're somebody that's looking to get started, you're looking for like a low money down or maybe a more accessible way to get into real estate, how that can really just open the doors for you.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just getting in, right? So, like, obviously, like having a good realtor that understands different
Yeah.
financing options. Like, thankfully, like I have a vast network. I know you were looking for your first property, so it's like, I found something that your criteria worked, and it was perfect. So that's
Yeah.
one thing, right? It's all about the financing. In terms of house hacking, like for my example, right? I was buying a new construction home, and it was 2 bedrooms, and I pretty much hit on my social media, Snapchat at the time. I said room for rent. I got 2 rooms. I think it was 650 each room I charge. And actually, 2 people from Penn State, from I met in summer session, that I still stay in touch with.
Yeah.
They reached out and they're like, "Hey, I want to move to the city, to Philadelphia. here, like, I'll definitely like pay. I'm like, all right, cool. Set up some
Great.
leases for each person. And one of them pretty much lived with me, I guess I could say like 10 years.
Wow.
So, it's like my homie. Can't obviously really good friends, but like, yeah,
Yeah.
like it just kind of sucked. And then I ended up selling him a home to him that now he lives, on his own. So basically, yes, that's how I did it. That's house hacking. And I would also, in the early days, because this is what, 2016, 2017, I was also Airbnb-ing my room when I would go on,
Um,
like when I would leave town to go visit my parents or something. Like I would Airbnb my room
yeah.
specifically just to make extra cash. And sometimes I'd be sleeping on the couch when I first started real estate, with being a realtor. Like I was sleeping in the living room couch because basically the house was set up where there was 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on the second floor, and then the first floor was a living room, dining, kitchen, and then the basement had a full suite where it was your own bedroom, own bath. I would rent that out in the
Yeah.
early states of to build like a nest egg, and I would just sleep on the couch on the weekends, and the
Yeah.
Airbnb guests were like, "Is this like, do you live here?" I'm like, "Yeah, but don't mind me." Like those are the early days, so it is pretty fun. You can even like, it's true because I saw my old listing I had, and it was literally in my bedroom. Like, it's still there, like archived. But yeah, that's like the true definition of get it, how you can.
Yeah. But honestly, like again, like I love that. I think that one thing that doesn't get advertised enough, just kind of painting in broad strokes, is that like it's not as easy as just buying 1,000 units and getting 1,000 doors, right? Like I'd almost guarantee every single person that you would hear from or you talk to that's kind of gone through and have come out on the other side, or they've made a full-time career out of this, they've been creative, right? And I almost like the way of saying it as like it's a creative way to make it work until you kind of get more established or you get some experience, you kind of try things, right? Like don't by any means think that like any of that is indicative of like a failure or like anything like that. Like that is the hustle. That is like kind of the dream of making it work, getting involved, like figuring out what's actually gonna, work and be sustainable, or is something that you want to do long term or not. You gotta kind of just gut it out and you gotta have grit, for lack of better words, on a lot of this stuff. So that's awesome
Yeah,
to do.
I would definitely say like real estate. We can touch base on this more further later on, but real estate honestly is just a game of you getting punched in the face over and over again, but you just gotta keep going. So, you kind of like it's not rocket science, right? It's like it's basic number math, like A plus B equals C, but you just have to make the move. You just have to like just do it and just dive in, and you're never gonna know about it until you're actually in the game. Like you have to understand it from inside and out. And there's plenty of stories where like people started, like even the big guys like Toll Brothers, like they bought their first home, and even Bart Blatstein, same thing. They first, like they were like out of college trying to figure out their lives, and they like, you know what, I'm gonna renovate this house, and they renovate it, and they're like, okay, I see it, I got it, let me buy another one. And then yeah, obviously there's a lot of different timing and everything, a little bit of luck, but obviously they're look at where they're at now. But that's literally how it starts. They just dove in and figured it out.
Yeah. I like it. Build the airplane on the way down, right? You gotta make the leap and then you gotta figure it out. And eventually before you know it, you're soaring on your own.
Exactly.
Uh, but I think the fourth misconception here, and one that I hear all the time, is that, or at least broadcasted, is that real estate is less risky, right? Real estate always appreciates. You buy a house for $100. Well, the law of real estate says that when you sell it, it should be $200. And so if you kind of keep that in mind, you'll always make money. But I'm curious your perspective. I've got to imagine there are some horror stories or things where maybe that just didn't quite hold true.
Yeah, like I was telling you about before, like we bought this home, and all the realtors that we asked, like, oh yeah, you can sell this for like 1.3, 1.2, and this is our first time in this area. And we kind of wanted to bring some city flair to this home. And we could have done a TLC and be in and out, but we were like, oh yeah, let's like raise the ceiling heights. Let's like really make this super open, city flair. And we over improved it. And the way the home was situated, it was on a busy street, so there was a lot of like other different things we kind of missed because we're not used to it. And
Sure.
we ended up selling in like what 950. So like it was far off from what. And then on top of that, we also had bad debt on it. When I mean by bad debt, I meant like the interest rate wasn't the best. The terms weren't the best, but we thought we were gonna be in and out. It ended up taking a little bit longer
Sure.
timelines. So all these things is coupled, you kind of just learn from moving on, and things don't always go your way,
Yeah.
even in a hot
And
market.
even in a hot market. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I see some of those HGTV shows too, and they start with $100,000 renovation budget. They go double the construction timeline and costs, but then they flip a switch and they somehow sell it for 250,000 more than they thought they were. And I'm like, there's just no way that this is realistic or how this is actually playing out in certain cases.
Yeah, like look, it's funny too. When I talk with like other developers, I'm always networking, right? And I always ask them, I'm like, so like, did you ever take a loss? Yeah, I swear, like 9 out of 10 just be like, no, I never did. I'm like, huh. And it's funny because I was talking with my bookkeeper, right? And she's great. Like she started her own business, right? Like she's jumped in. She didn't really know too much, and she grew really quick, really fast. And she was like, she specialized working with like construction companies and stuff like that. So she knows the cash flow business. And she's like, there's no way people have not taken loss. Like it's so hard to keep track of construction. And she's like, I bet you half these developers don't know their true costs and they're just showing a net profit of like call it like 100K over like 10 projects, but probably like 70% of the projects probably screwed up and then only 20% were great. And you're not
Yeah.
looking at that granularly. And that's just very common conception. Like a lot of people think, like they're making money, but in reality, when you account for like interest and overhead and everything, it's people don't really tend to look at the big picture.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. One thing I'm curious of, just your personal kind of opinion and flavor, is like we've had a really hot real estate market, right? Like houses really have, I think, probably bailed out a lot of bad deals or a lot of bad renovations and flips and things where like you got a rising tide, it'll kind of naturally lift up all of the boats. And so do you suspect or do you maybe see any sort of like inklings or warnings that like, hey, the if the market slows down, if it stops, that might catch some of these guys off foot and actually drive out some folks that historically maybe were successful but didn't have as good of processes as maybe they thought, and were only kind of, for lack of better words, getting lucky because of broader macro level things in the industry.
I mean, right now, like we kind of been through like a rough last 2 years because like
Okay.
the
Yeah.
interest rates, and everything. So there's still like there's not enough supply of single family homes. So I think that market's still pretty good. In terms of like those large apartment buildings that they were building, a lot of developers are stuck or got stuck. And so, they are getting bailed out by whether people are just buying everything at a discount and so forth in terms of like those projects. Like in Delaware Avenue in Philadelphia, like there's over like 2,000 apartments just in that area that are built at the same time. And those are not being filled, but they're like competing with like 3-month concessions and crazy shit.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
basically, I guess what they're doing is like, I believe, at least now, I think interest rates will come down in the next 2 to 4 years. because I believe inflation is actually right now stagnant. Like I don't think it's increasing. I think it's trending downwards, but I don't think like people are like reading, like taking the information seriously. So we're kind of just stuck at like a stalemate. But I know other people are like pretty positive that, you know, interest rates should go down, not to like, it'll never go down 3 or 4% like that again. It'll maybe go down a point, but that makes a big difference with the larger projects. And so I know people that are in acquisition mode, and it gives them like a remnants of like 2017, 2018, where you could still like, a lot of people are exit the commercial field and real estate in general, and there's deals to be made.
Yeah. I like it. All right, that's a good correction. So yeah, the real estate market has not been as hot as I thought. It's been a rough 2 years. That's good. That's a good call out. So maybe not quite driving people out quite yet, but back in acquisition mode and some changes to come here. That's exciting
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. Commercial definitely took a hit, like for sure. Like they're
Yeah.
competing for rents, etc. Single family housing's been always stagnant.
Yeah.
But that's still micro. Like it depends on the neighborhood. It depends. Burbs are still hot like crazy. There's not enough deals, not enough homes to be made, as you would know. But it's tough. It's tough out in the burbs. But yeah, so single families are still strong.
Yeah. Yeah, we're looking. We're gosh, maybe it's been like 6 months or something since we started looking. But yeah, it's crazy. It's not, there's no, hey, draw up your dream home in your perfect neighborhood in the school districts that you want, and it's there waiting for you, It's there's so many different things. So yeah, it's something. It's
Dude,
something. But we'll
it's $700,000 for a fixer upper.
yeah, I know. Yeah. The Philly suburbs are crazy. I mean, we've seen a couple that are like, I mean, tear downs, right? Like you're taking everything out and renovating, and it's 1.1,
Yeah, it's
it's
crazy.
insane. It's insane. So yeah, but I like the micro analogy because you're right. I mean, neighborhood by neighborhood, school district by school district, right? Zip code by zip code. It is all kind of looking around and obviously basing things on where you are. Now, real estate, and maybe you can touch on this before we go to our last misconception here, but real estate's really all based around comps, right? And maybe we kind of stick generally to single family stuff. But when we talk about why that's so important, looking at that kind of micro level compared to the big zoomed out macro, when you look at a single family home, you're really kind of probably basing all your projections and things based on what the guy down the street did and where he ended up with his sales price. Is that kind of generally painted with a broad stroke there? The right idea?
Yeah, I mean, you want to look at comps, and you just want to make sure that you're assessing everything. Like there's like a due diligence checklist. It's just like making sure, obviously, the closest comps that are most accurate to your home you're building, plus school district, plus curb appeal, plus like features, size of homes, etc., or even the way it's constructed, there's so many different factors, but you gotta go through all of it to make a real assessed, projection.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, hey, you talked about always networking and always trying to rub up against the right people at the right time. The fifth misconception, and maybe holistically across all the different business segments that you do, right? Investing, being an agent, development. The one misconception that I had always kind of thought personally, and I've heard a lot from and other folks, is that real estate is an extrovert's game. You've got to be outgoing. You've got to have that same attitude of like, I will out network and outwork everybody next to me because I've got to get the best Rolodex and the best contact list and the best people. But is that accurate? Is real estate all based around being an outgoing social butterfly?
I mean, now like networking is big because like real estate's a small community. Everybody kind of knows you, so I bump into the same people everywhere, right? And everyone's cordial, and through networking, I've also gotten a lot of deals that way. I mean, even being as a realtor, because people have known me for quite some time, you know, they would send me deals.
Yeah.
So, and then the same thing, like I have friends where like if a deal, I don't want or like I can't take on because it's too big or too small, I'll pass off to, my colleagues, if they're interested. So it's always just talking, right? And, I just I let people talk, and I just, can learn a lot that way. So I think it's very important to just be at the right places, and talking to as many people as you can. Real estate to me is very natural because I live, eat, and breathe it. The way, I'm always hearing about it. It comes up in every conversation naturally. I just have a natural tune for it, so it kind of just it's part of my life.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Well, that kind of takes us through the misconceptions that I had kind of put together here that I wanted to talk through. We're gonna skip on into our interview section where I want to know a little bit more about kind of you personally, right? What's going on and what's happening in your life. Got a couple questions for you, but same deal here. We'll kind of fire them off and we'll see how that kind of parlays with everything we've talked about. The first one here is really like taking a step back from everything that we just talked about. What's kind of the most frustrating misconception that you may come across in real estate? It may be something we talked on or not, but is there anything that really kind of grinds your gears or gets under your skin in terms of like, hey, I'm Robin, I'm a real estate developer, and someone just gives you kind of like a frowny face at the grocery store and says something that gets under your skin?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the misconception, it happens a lot at the we call the community meetings, right? For going for the zoning variance with neighbors and stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody just thinks like, yeah, developers, they're gonna make money no matter what. Even when I'm talking to sellers, like, they're like, oh, you're like offering me too low and you're gonna make a ton of money off me. They think the construction cost to build new construction would be like 150K because they haven't been in real estate in like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
So, and then the risk we take, like, it's so funny. Like, I've had some stories where, like, at the RCO meeting, community meeting, you know, the wacky neighbors are like, if if we're gonna let you build this home, this is a real comment, then you have to share the profits. And I was like, what? Like, I was like, that's a legit question. And
Wow.
it's kind of crazy. That's like that's the crazy thing. Um, yeah, there's like bad developers out there, and I can see why people get mad at developers in general because they may be like inconsiderate of the block or the neighbors. Um, in Philadelphia, you kind of have to work with your neighbors. Like, there's no other solution around it, so you have to be friendly. Um, and we try to build a good product that'll stand the test of time. So we
Yeah.
always fight those battles. But yeah, like, there's so much risk with us developing that people don't understand. And the risk between taking the loan out, you have investors, and you have a timeline. It's just like a high pressure situation, and that
Yeah.
nothing always goes your way. So the thing that people say, like, oh, everything we do is greedy, like,
Yeah.
sometimes it's kind of, that's the biggest misconception, like,
Yeah.
making money.
Yeah. Hey, I could totally see that. That's got to be interesting, but also such a weird. I mean, you got to imagine that, a lot of good things happen with development. That's got to be a very quick way to kind of de-incentivize more good things kind of being built and developed in a neighborhood is to do profit sharing. Very interesting question there. Very interesting. Uh, well, cool, man. What's something or the most important thing that you wish more people knew about real estate and the space you're in?
Yeah, I mean, everybody. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Love that. Yeah, I love that. Play that back.
That's
Listen to that again.
yeah, like, that's always a thing I hear. Like, there's a lot of hard work, right?
Yeah.
And with everything, even if you're managing properties, it just, from every aspect of it, from like the tax perspective, right? Every year, like, you just have to do more work. So it's definitely satisfying, but it's not easy, and you have to really put in the work to do it right. There's nothing's easy, and people can claim all the time, like, you know even if you built systems to make it easy, you still have to manage the systems. That's not hard, or it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So and you have to put a team in place, and like it depends if you want to scale it, but nonetheless, there's always a ton of work involved in every aspect.
Yeah. Spot on. Spot on. One thing I'm always kind of oddly like envious of, I feel like until I get my hands on some sort of project, is the fact that like in real estate, particularly in like development and building and things, but when you're done, you've got a physical product. Like you can walk through it and say like, wow, look at these beautiful walls and windows, and it's kind of really nice versus you're in like the corporate career or white collar stuff, and the end of the project may just be a PowerPoint deck or like a slideshow. And it's not nothing, but it's certainly not as like you're not going to take a PowerPoint to like your wife or something and say like, honey, look what we made today. Like, isn't this great? Like I feel like it must be such a cool feeling to walk through a finished house or project or something and kind of point out all the stuff and get to say like, we did this. Isn't this cool?
Yeah, it's definitely satisfying. It's one of my favorite parts. Like for our team, my business partner, he puts the design and build like into my hands for like the finishes.
Nice.
So,
Yeah.
I love seeing that come to life. That's one of the more like things I enjoy about the business. And like I said, everyone, like people like investing in real estate like passively, like LPs, limited partners, because they're like, oh look, like I'm part of this project. Like check this
Yeah.
out, and they show off to their friends. But then the real, like, call it general partners, GPs, they're on the inside doing all the work, and they're like, yeah, it's like it's fun, but it's also a job. It's
Yeah.
a job I love. It's like you gotta be kind of sick in the head to really like endure it. At least in the stuff like that we do. But I will not trade it for anything else.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, give me a little bit more on that. Like, what's the stuff that kind of makes you feel like, man, I got to be a little nutty to keep doing this day in and day out and love it? Is it anything in
Yeah,
particular or just the flow?
I mean, it's a flow, but I was saying earlier, like, how you keep getting punched in the face. Like,
Yeah,
there will be days where, like, you got, random lawsuits coming, right? And most people would just crumble. But I've been
yeah,
like, I know the system, like, I know how it works. Like, it's not that like deep, but lawsuits, you can get lawsuits, you can get water leaks in your homes, right? As a customer just moved in, you got a water leak, like what the hell? Like in their basement. And then you can get hit with like, angry tenants because like it's like all these different problems and happen at one time. And then you can add on top of that, like if you're building your own homes, like if you're GCing your own homes, like every single detail, every project, a subcontractor messed up the location, of you, and you specifically told them like in writing, hey, it goes here, this installation,
yeah,
like people, you can just you just take it and then you just work with what you got.
yeah. It's just stuff. One analogy that I had always kind of talked about with another friend of mine that has a couple investment properties is that real estate just once you really get into it, it's kind of like heavy. Like it's not, when you have one unit or maybe like a couple, it's not too bad. But it does seem like a lot of the times when he would get calls, it was just always heavy stuff. It was like you're like my basement's flooded with 2 feet of water, or the toilet looks like a water fountain and it's shooting into the ceiling, or a tree fell on the top of the house and our kitchen is a swimming pool now. And it was never like no one ever calls you and is like, hey Robin, we're having a great day. Like I'm gonna pay you double rent this month because you've been such a good landlord. It's always like the big heavy, kind of scary stuff. And it's always at odd hours. It's like the Sunday at 8 p.m., Tuesday, afternoon when it's a beautiful day and all you want to do is get out and play golf. It's like, oh man, I gotta go take care of a firestorm.
Yeah, best believe like every time it rains, the next day I'm like kind of shook. I'm like, God, I hope no one calls me for a leaking roof or an old basement getting water in. So yeah, at least when you have rental properties, there's rarely people. That's why property management is like the hardest business because you're never getting a pat on the back ever. People only call you to complain. So that's a brutal business. And for the real estate development, it's not really satisfying till you actually have it closed. Like a buyer actually puts an offer on and they actually like your home and the punch list went smooth. Then it's like satisfying. Until then, it's just high stress.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fair. I mean, some of those numbers those are, those are a lot of commas. That's a lot of stuff to be dealing with. That's not like $20 to your guy down, your buddy down the street that you own for a bad sports bet or something. That's some serious leverage and debt.
Yes. Lots of
Oh
debt.
man. Well, hey, we got a little bit of a fun one for you, and I've been kind of sneaking this into a lot of different folks, but it's like the innovation corner or a little bit of kind of the peek behind the curtain, what's going on next. Obviously, artificial intelligence, I feel like, is all over the news. Chat GPT, take your pick, right? There's all kinds of new models and everything coming out. But what I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, real estate being a physical thing, I mean, you're physically building a building or an apartment or a sink or whatever it is, right? Do you feel that AI is kind of or real estate's a little bit insulated from the impacts of AI? And if not, how are you guys kind of using it in your business to make yourselves more effective?
Yeah, I don't think AI can like be able to ever build a house. Like, yeah, I see like the robotics machines building like the 3D printer homes and
Yeah,
shit,
yeah, yeah.
but like a true home, I don't think those building practices can be replicated. So I feel comfortable for a while, like a long time. But how we're implementing AI, like I use ChatGPT a lot, just for feedback on running a business. So from that standpoint, like
It's a
I'm
good one.
definitely like I'm always asking it like find flaws in my thinking for this business transaction. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
strategy. So in that aspect, yeah, I love it. In terms of our actual business, I use it for like data flow. Like I use Monday.com and like Mondays are place to like run schedules and just stay on top of everything. So AI is kind of there to like just automate things. I'm sure it'll get more advanced as the years go on, but like we're still in infant stages. So I think AI can definitely help from running a business. Um, but actually like physically building the product, I don't think that's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah. Fair enough. What do you think about like the humanoid robots that are starting to come out though? Like I think what does Tesla call theirs?
Yeah.
I forget the name of it, but I mean they're starting to get pretty creative. Boston Dynamics has, they're running down the street, they're doing backflips off houses and stuff. You got to get a little bit nervous when you see some of those videos about like, oh man, like that guy can lift a 400-pound refrigerator and install that thing in 20 minutes and do it 24 hours a day versus like at some point I got to clock out and go to bed.
Yeah. I think like big like projects can utilize, I guess, like in the future, like the robots, like for labor perspective. But there's also like the custom aspect that even like the tradesmen today, like some of them can't figure out. There's just some
Yeah.
problems that are just super like complex when building a home because there's like a million plus pieces. Like it's just kind of nuts. And even the custom work, like the custom
Yeah.
trim work that's in past, it's like even people today can't replicate a lot of the carpentry that was done in the past. I don't think robots are going to be able to do that anytime soon. There's just some just crazy things that are just kind of hard to imagine, like a machine being able to handle. Regular like brick and mortar, like if you just want, basic like things that are like easier, like labor, like you can outsource. Like but any skilled carpentry, it's very tough, like even for today's people to replicate.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Well, good. This might be a good callback. Honestly, I'm very curious to see where all this stuff lands in like 6 months, a year, 10 years. We'll have to do some regular check-ins and see. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll have 10, Robin robots going on all your job sites in
Yeah,
7 years, and we'll see we'll see what it looks like.
yeah, it'd be great. More help.
Yeah, exactly. Their arms might actually be as strong as yours by the time they get everything set up and going. It'd be amazing. You'd build a house in 2 days.
Stronger, man.
Oh, well, Robin, I appreciate that a ton. Honestly, that is all the questions and like misconceptions and things that I was kind of going through. What I like to do now, try and summarize it, wrap it up in a quick, succinct way to explain it like on 5 section, right? If we had to take everything that we kind of talked about, top to bottom, development, agencies, investing, right? Anything kind of real estate and maybe the real world implications and stuff behind it. I think the explain it like I'm five version and recap is it's not passive, it's extremely active, but very rewarding once you kind of build up those systems and processes and you kind of experiment with whatever you need. So maybe the super, super simple version of even that is that there's no such thing as truly passive investment in real estate for the vast majority of this. But if you like it and you got grit, you can go a long way. What do you think?
That's pretty accurate. And even adding on top of that is real estate is a place where you can make anything happen. You can make monies in so many different ways, or AKA, there's many ways to skin a cat in this
Yeah,
industry.
I like it. Way more optimism to that one. I like it. I like it. Well, cool, man. We got a couple of outro things, and I think I'll send you on our way. One of them, what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten for your personal life and or your career? I don't know if any one piece stands out more than another, but I'd love to know anything that kind of sits with you.
Yeah, like two things. Like one is, as you said earlier, use a jump and you build a plane as go down, because you just always have to figure it out. A lot of real estate I had no idea until I'm actually in it. So that's like a big life thing that's also works in real life. Nothing's going to be perfect. I still got friends that have analysis paralysis,
Yeah.
and they passed on many opportunities, and you don't learn unless you make a mistake. So you need that type of headspace. And then two is just literally always being the dumbest in the room. And even if people think you're smart, you just let them talk, and you'll get a lot of information that way. So always just be listening.
Smart. I like that a lot. Seek first to understand and then be understood. I think it's a really good way to kind of live your life, business wise or just personal.
Perfect. Yep.
I like it, man. Well, what do you have any regrets? Is there anything that you wish you could go back in time and do differently in your life or your career?
Um, I think everything happens for a reason. I definitely made some, like, there were just things that lined up where I ended up where I am today. So, you know, I guess these are all painful learning lessons that
Yeah.
definitely make me a lot sharper now. There's a lot of things that you just don't know, but it's pretty much in itself a degree. Like
Yeah.
it's your education. It's another college. These mistakes definitely pay, but in the long term make you definitely better when you come out of it.
It's true. A lot of the times I think there's a saying that like if the answer to everybody's problems was just access to information, we'd all be rich and have six packs, right? Realistically, any answer for any problem you can probably find online. You can find it faster than ever with ChatGPT and Google or talking, calling somebody, right? Somebody that's done it. It's not necessarily the like accessibility of information at this point. It's the execution, right? Are you gonna jump in? Are you gonna do it? And until you do it, you'll never have done it, you know?
Yeah, that's very true. Like, a lot of people ask me for tips, advice, and I give them the tips and advice, and then they just don't follow through. I can tell you all the secrets, doesn't mean anything if you're not going to actually start it and execute it. So it's a common theme, honestly. Um, Even with the door knocking, people will tell you, how do you get these deals? You tell them, and then nothing ever changes.
Yeah, true. A little bit of hustle. A little bit of hustle goes a long way. I like
Yes.
it. I like it. Well, last one for you. What's next for you? I mean, you've done, it seems like everything I can think of. What are the next big challenges, mountains that you're climbing, things that you want to accomplish, personal, career wise? Are you going to get to the 1,000 units? Are you going to develop the $100 million property? What are you thinking?
Well, my end game is essentially just being able to scale our company. I want to be basically, if I want to kind of build this company up, scale it, where I can get bought out by a public company or a large company, and essentially, cash out, semi-retire, and then do it again. But at that point, it will be like more fun because I already have the nest egg. So I would love to just do it again, but for like
Yeah,
passion projects. Then in a perfect world, yeah, if I could grind, scale this, get bought out, and then do a non-compete, wait, chill a little bit, and then do it again. Totally would.
I like it. That's the age old kind of like consulting playbook that folks have always told me about, was just build your own practice, get acquired, wait a year or two, leave, do it again, and just kind of turn that over and over and over. And it's a really successful kind of playbook for you.
Yeah, I mean the idea of like just starting a business is just fascinating to me, and if I could just do it again and again, like totally would. So it's definitely fun.
So you're a 0 to 1 guy. You like going from nothing to something. I mean, honestly, I think going from nothing to something, right, 0 to 1 is so much harder than I think people give it credit for. I really do find that like people tend to be really good at like certain chunks, right? And even when you talk about growing businesses, you can think of them in terms of like villages and cities and things like you kind of when you get to certain head counts within companies, oftentimes companies will change leadership or they'll change like private equity companies that own them because they're better at going from 1,000 person company to a 5,000 person company versus like it's a very different game when you're going from one employee to 10 and then from 10 to 100. Everything is kind of different. But to bring this back, I mean, it sounds like you're a 0 to 1 guy. You like jumping off the edge and you like building those wings on the way down.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, you don't know until you need the help. So that was another thing too, is like really hiring people and to delegate, but also like hiring people that are smarter than you. Because I gotta focus. Me and my business partner, we gotta focus on the big picture. So basically, just hiring people that are better than us at certain aspects of the business will definitely take you further. And I don't have an ego about that. Like I didn't specialize being, a CPA accountant, right? That's not my strong suit. I know enough where I'm not going to, get one over on me.
Yeah.
I know enough to get by, but I'm not like going to be that deep into the books when I can't focus on like finding other opportunities or putting together capital stacks and stuff like that. So, it's like really just putting the pieces in place, and everyone's probably going to be smarter than you at those specific things.
I think that's brilliant. And there's a lot of sage wisdom there. A lot of sage wisdom. Ego is the enemy. Well, Robin, anything for me before I let you go? I think this was an incredible episode here. A lot of good points and a lot of little nuggets there that I think everyone should go back and give another listen to. But what do you think? Anything to shout out here on the way out?
I mean, I just think it's really fun. I really just love talking to people that enjoy real estate, and I'm always
Yeah.
down to have a conversation. Um, it's just something, sometimes you gotta vent, but also, sometimes it's like I love just sharing ideas, and there's always different aspects people look at it, and that's the beauty of this whole industry is that you just meet people that are like, damn, like you make money just buying industrial warehouses. And I was like, how do you, I can't even conceptualize that, but people make a great living off that, just that's an example. So you just
Yeah.
learn all the time in different spaces. That's what's sick. I told you earlier in the beginning, I'm just at the tip of the iceberg. There are layers, layers, and layers of real estate industry.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, I can think of like 10 more subtopics we can come back and do next time, but we'll definitely have to keep this in mind and follow up in a couple months. Who knows? I mean, you may be running for city office, some sort of redevelopment position for you, or just growing your business, and maybe you'll be sitting on the beach in Hawaii with the semi-retired life, and you're gonna have a beautiful foreign backdrop for us.
That would be nice.
Yeah. Well, hey man, I appreciate it as always. Great to catch up with you. I appreciate you coming on. And best of luck in your business. And thank you, everybody, for listening. This has been another episode of the Unprepared Podcast. Hopefully, you guys like it. Let us know what you think and give us some feedback. More people you'd like to see, more topics you want to explore, and we'll dive on into them. Thanks, everybody.